he literally said to me, I'm not going to let you go back to work. The hardest thing for me was letting go. Who's going to do the work if I'm not there? I took a break. I took about 6 months off and really allowed myself the space to heal. Life was great. In February, there was a lump that had formed on the side of my tongue, and it came back as a very fast-moving, like rapid growth, dangerous cancer. At the same time, my husband was struggling with his own mental health. I got a phone call from my hubby thinking that he was checking in on how I was doing, and he said, I've self-presented at A&E and I'm suicidal. We go through something challenging and we come out the other end and go, I survived that. How did I survive that? That's why I'm so passionate about self-kindness now. Breathwork is a game changer. The amount of deep somatic healing. And I think the bits where your body hangs on to stuff, why aren't we listening? Like, why aren't we listening to that?
Welcome everybody to the Reconnect to Self podcast, the show that helps you rediscover what brings you joy. My name is Scott. I am a filmmaker and your host for today. And as always, I am joined by my wife, Tracy, who is a counsellor of 20 years, a breathwork instructor and certified psychedelic assisted therapist. Hello, babe.
Hi.
We're in a slightly different setup today. If you're watching this on video, we're very excited because we have our very first remote guest. So let me introduce her. Today on the show we have, and I'm hoping I'm getting your surname correct because I have not pronounced this before, but Sophie Bretag. She's an international speaker and founder of Meta Leaders, known for her work in leadership, workplace culture, and well-being. But what really stands out is her story. Sophie's lived with high-functioning anxiety, she's been through cancer, and supports her partner through PTSD. She's had to figure out self-care the hard way, and now she helps others do the same. So in this chat, we're going to dive into her journey and the practices that can help you show up with more kindness and resilience in your own life. Hello, Sophie.
Hello, Scott. Hi, Tracy. Hi. It's so nice to connect with you properly. Yes. It's really lovely. I wish I was in person.
I should have checked with your surname before we started. Was that accurate?
No, that's absolutely fine. We get all sorts on it. It's Bretag, so it's much less fancy. Okay. I love the way that you added the fancy to it, so I may even adopt that and tell my husband that's what we're going to be from now on.
I like it.
It does sound posh. Thank you for coming on the show.
Now, very lovely to be here, honestly. I love the energy that both of you have together, and it's just a pleasure to be able to be in that energy today, even virtually.
Oh, thank
you. Beautiful. And we've never met. In fact, today is the first time we've spoken.
But it's so comfortable already. It's so lovely.
So easeful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it would be because I don't know, the algorithm just decided they were going to start showing me your posts on LinkedIn, and I saw what you were writing about and I was like, wow, Sophie's exactly like Tracy, just with a brighter hair color. So that was a few months ago, and that's when I was like, okay, we've got to get you on the show. So we finally figured out a time and we are making it happen. So I guess my first question is, and we're going to delve a bit into your story, but as with most of our episodes, we just go randomly wherever the conversation takes us. But where I thought
I'm here for random, by the way.
Good.
Random's great.
Perfect. Well, that suits us. When people ask you what you do, what do you tell them?
That's an interesting question. It depends on the audience sometimes, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So I tell people that I'm a combination of a few different things, and my core trade, my core thing that I'm trained in is human resources, people and culture. So I work as an HR consultant. And then to the side of that, I do work in leadership wellbeing, but with a twist. So I help people through self-kindness and kindness within workplaces to create workplaces that are more connected and more happy and well.
Beautiful.
Speaking Tracy's language.
You are speaking my language.
We need
Anything
more
with
of
this.
it.
Yeah.
We need more of it.
People coming from their hearts, being kind. Oh,
Yes.
absolutely, we need that.
100%.
And how did that all come about? So you're in HR, like I imagine it's evolved, right? Like it didn't start out that way. Tell us the story of like how did you get to this place?
A wiggly road, as they usually are. I think for me, because I'd worked in HR for about 15 years, really. So this has been an evolution really over the last 5 years where I've been digging into how to lead more from the heart. And I think generally as a society, we've been digging into that more as well. And so my interest was peaked around, Brené Brown and the work that she was putting out into the world around vulnerability and shame and people leading from the heart. And I just think it's grown from there. But a lot of my work was in aged care. So I worked for quite an extended period of time in aged care. And particularly the most difficult part was the COVID part of that work. And so I was the sole HR person within the organisation that we were working for. And I saw so much grief and loss and so many leaders who were really struggling to not only support the people around them, so the teams around them, but the residents and their families. And then how were they finding time for themselves? Because obviously outside the workplace, everyone has their own things that they have to manage and that they have to deal with. And so they might have been caring for an elderly parent themselves at home, or children, or friends who were struggling, or a partner. And so through that, I really saw how people were leaning on me as an HR person. We used to have this joke, or a few people had a joke around, you need a ticket machine outside your door, Soph, because so many people are lining up. You need a waiting room because so many people need a person to speak to. And through that, I found that I was not looking after myself as well as I could have been. And so I was giving so much, 150% to all of the people who were, I suppose I say, within my care, because I was, and I still am in HR, we have a really important job around taking care of the people who take care of either the service or the people at the end of that service. And so there is a high level of burnout in human resource workers, but also within organisations in general, in leadership, because there has been such a focus on everybody just pushes through and everyone keeps going, and you have to achieve and you want to get to the next thing, and what's the next thing on our strategic.
It's almost encouraged.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no pause. Yeah, and so for me, seeing that and then experiencing that myself, I was like, what can I do? Like, how can I be better? How can I do better? How can I support better? And by that, it was more around how can I be better myself and more well. And that's where it kind of started to, I suppose, ripple out into all the work I was doing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So are you saying that you were burnt out? Is that what happened to you? And
100%.
You go, baby.
What did you notice? What were the things
100%.
that you noticed when you were feeling that burnout?
There was a bit of shame around it.
Was there?
So I didn't really want to acknowledge it. So
Why do you think there was shame around acknowledging the burnout?
I think when you are, when you're a high achiever, when you are not able to talk to each other within a workplace, because in HR it can be a very lonely position to hold, because you have to be able to take on board and listen to everything that people are telling you, but you can only share certain parts of that, if any. So the confidentiality and the load and the mental load and emotional load that you take on within the role makes you think that you're the only person who can help other people. And it's not the truth, of course. That's the story we tell ourselves. But for me, the shame was attached to, well, I just have to keep going, because if I go down, who else is there? There's nobody else. There's no other HR person.
Right. So is it the worry of letting people down?
Absolutely. The worry of letting the team down, but also I think the worry of being seen as not capable, and concerned that if I showed that I wasn't coping, that potentially I wasn't doing my job well enough. And for me, that makes me really sad actually to think about that, because it's not the truth.
Yeah.
That was just my perception of my truth
Yeah.
when I was in that state of depletion.
Yeah.
So another thing that I noticed from a physical perspective was just this inability to sleep. I started getting panic attacks. So as you mentioned at the beginning, I have high functioning anxiety, and it's taken me a long, long time to learn how to live with it, not fight against it, and just accept it and realize that it's a part of me. But I think when you're really running on low fumes, you don't have the capacity to be able to self-reflect and self-regulate as much as you would.
Yeah.
And so I noticed a lot more higher anxiety, heart palpitations, snappiness. So I was probably getting really snappy. I had young kids at the time. My husband was shift working, so he's a police officer. And so there was this plethora of things that were all kind of amalgamating into this perfect storm, I think.
And being COVID times alone, you know, was its own thing.
So lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really stressful. And I think the speed at which things change, particularly in the aged care sector, it was, you know, trying to keep people alive essentially.
And
that was
I think that's one of the most stressful areas you could have been in, would be aged care and COVID. Like, I don't really think there's much higher than that.
Yeah.
Hospitals,
yeah,
maybe.
aged care and healthcare.
Yeah, healthcare.
Yeah, aged care, healthcare, disability.
Yeah.
So I think really those sectors where you had aging, vulnerable people, either physically or emotionally, definitely made it a bigger challenge for sure. Because if you didn't have your staff trained properly, if you didn't have them protected properly, then your residents wouldn't be protected. If they weren't isolating at home and then they came into the office and they were helping other residents, or they were working, sometimes we had staff who were working at multiple sites for different jobs, so they were casual workers, so we didn't have the surge support. And so, yeah, look, I look back on it and I think, my goodness, what we got through was just a miracle. It was amazing. And we had no loss of life, which was even and more amazing in the place where I was working. That's not thanks to me, that's thanks to the amazing care. But yeah, I think for sure it was something that kind of it hit everyone hard, didn't it?
Definitely.
And so did you reach a point where you, like, metaphorically collapsed? Like what happened next, I guess, is my question.
My husband said, "You can't go back into work." He literally said to me, he said, "You are so unwell."
He really noticed.
And he said, "You're not," he goes, "You're not very great to be around." And at the same time, my husband actually was struggling through one of his first big mental health challenges. He'd had one a few years prior. And so simultaneously he was having his own challenges, and I think really noticed that I wasn't able to support him as well as I could and as I had been.
Yeah.
But it was literally him. He literally said to me, I'm not going to let you go back to work.
Wow.
How beautiful that he stepped in and really gave you that, you know, advice or insight that you weren't able to do for yourself at that time. Like, obviously you're feeling it, but you didn't know how to sort of step out of it or change it or do anything different. So to have someone notice that and, you know, sort of direct you a little bit, sounds like what you needed.
And how did you,
It's a gift.
how did you take that? Like, when he says that to you, how do you process that?
Look, there were a few different emotions, obviously. Probably the hardest thing for me was letting go of the guilt around letting the people down at work and asking him, well, who's going to do the work if I'm not there?
Yeah.
Because, you know, the people need me, but it was almost this inflated sense of responsibility of, if I can support the people within the business, then I've done my job and I've achieved, and what I've done is my best. And so it was that piece of surrendering and then forgiving myself for pushing myself so hard that I was semi-broken. and then allowing myself that kind of grieving period, because I think when you're in that state of go and busyness, and it was almost I suppose, hypervigilance, where you're kind of on all the time.
Yep. Never switching to the rest
how
and
do you
digest. Yeah.
Yes. How do you actually pause without collapsing in a big heap, which is pretty much what I did. And so I did say to him, I agree, but it's a tough decision.
Yeah. Actually, when you say about collapsing in a heap, that's really common, that people will be so exhausted when they do stop, because before that you're actually running on your adrenals. And so when you've stopped and you're not running on your adrenals, your body is actually just exhausted and trying to repair and replenish itself and things. Whereas before that you had that false sense of energy just from pushing through. And people don't realize that. People kind of just go, oh, I'm fine, or yeah, I've still got energy, or whatever it might be. And they don't realize that it's actually not proper energy. And at some point you'll need to, replenish that. So it sounds like you kind of had that dip.
I feel that deeply, because there is that lack of replenishment, and it's not a deep-seated, grounded energy. It's I'm all up in my head and I'm spinning around, juggling all the balls, and it's almost like a hyperactive kind of energy. It's a very different to one where you're well and sustainable, for sure.
And we are going to get to a happier place in this conversation, but I feel like we need this.
Dig deep first.
Yeah, we've got to dig deep and get the groundwork, because I actually think, as you were talking, I was like, oh my God, this must resonate for so many people who are listening. So just to clarify, you resigned?
Sure did.
Right. What happened after that?
I took a break. So I took about 6 months off.
Beautiful.
And really allowed myself the space to heal. And my beautiful husband, he's just one in a million. He just said, do what you need to do until you're well. And it was during that time that I thought, I think I need to start a business, because of course we do that when we've got space to think. So what's the next thing we're going to do? But it was more around the next iteration of how can I support more people, but in a more sustainable manner. And so that's when Meta Leaders was born. And in that time, I was able to look at what are the things that have worked for me through this period of change and this period of healing, and what's doable, what's practical, but also what will people be interested in doing that will help themselves, because so often we put ourselves last, and looking after ourselves is the last thing we do. So I then also said to my husband, I think I want to become an HR consultant, and he said, do it. So that's when I went into HR consulting, which was far less onerous, because I was working on projects that were more passion projects and more directed, and very much less stressful. And so I have been doing that ever since. I've been running them in tandem, HR consulting and my own business. It's worked well.
How beautiful that you had that time to stop and actually then allow you to create. And I think, to be honest, that's actually what people don't get the chance to do. We're running off fumes all the time. We're certainly not in our creative mind. We're just in the doing. Right. So by stopping and allowing yourself that time, then these beautiful insights and ideas can come through. So it sounds like, you got that opportunity to really bubble away, the beginnings of your business from that time that you took for yourself. So how beautiful.
And did you have...
It was a gift. Space is a gift.
It really is, yeah.
Because I'm in a sort of similar position right now where Tracy is telling me to slow down like big time. And the feelings that I have is guilt around what I should, and should is a dangerous word, and
it is.
I think I've mentioned this on previous podcasts, when you think I should be doing this, I should be doing that, gets you into trouble. But I still do it. And the other part is around the finances,
absolutely.
I've always been the breadwinner, and the guilt of not bringing as much money into the household is tough. Did you have any of those kind of feelings?
Absolutely, 150%. But when you have a partner who's supportive and a partner who realizes that if you don't slow down, they may not even have a partner or they'll have a piece of a partner. That's not what they want. So speaking from experience, because we then had this similar experience then with my husband now. So we've swapped roles now, 5 years or whatever later. My advice is trust Tracy, because I think she's amazing. I've never met her in person, but she clearly knows what she's talking about.
She does.
She clearly loves you.
Yep.
And supports you. And what I found when my husband gifted me the space and the time was, yes, there was guilt to start with. And I think sometimes that doesn't go away. So I don't think you can expect for that to go away completely, because sometimes when we want to do things and we want to achieve things, there is that, oh my goodness, I'm not doing this, or I'm not achieving. So what am I actually doing and what am I contributing? But what you're contributing to is the future and what can be, and the possibility of what you can create and what you can ideate through this time that you have the space. So my advice is take the pause.
Yeah, and
take
I was just thinking, with your husband saying, he knew that you were getting sick and you weren't doing so well, that if you hadn't taken that break, I bet your body would have made you take that break. You would have developed something else. So for me, the reason I want Scott to slow down so much is, first of all, I've always thought that we work too much in society, 5 days a week, in balancing all the things that you're trying to, fit in your life. It's too much.
Yes.
Back in the day we were in villages, and we had the support of people around us to, have community, and we didn't work those crazy hours or have everything individually on our plate. But, we used to live in multi-generational homes where someone else is contributing with the childcare and the cooking and the home maintenance and all those things. But nowadays, everything is on our plate. So I keep saying to Scott, I want you to have more balance where you're not working as much with the paid work, because, gosh, there's so much unpaid work we still got to get through. And and with these health issues, I wanted to make sure that, what we value is our health, is our happiness, and not paying off the mortgage quicker than what we are right now, or getting the next investment thing happening. Because we see that a lot, where people kind of keep pushing and pushing, and they go, right, just until we pay the mortgage off or get ourselves to a certain point. It doesn't end. All the people I know personally, they keep pushing at the same level. They do not ease up and suddenly work less hours or, take more time for themselves. I feel like it's just they accumulate more stuff.
I agree. And, it's really interesting on this point. My kids, bless kids and their honesty, but we were in the car, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and my youngest said, Mummy, do you know you've got 54 years left of your life if you want to live to 100? And I went, and it gave me such a pause for reflection. I went, I may, if I'm lucky to live to 100, have 54 years left on this planet. Maybe I'll have 30 or so of those where I'm ambulant and with it enough to be able to do the things I want to do. Scott, when you were talking about feeling a bit of guilt and not maybe bringing in the financial, like the tangible financial returns, life's too short to, as long as we've got enough money, and this is my own personal opinion, nobody else, people might have a different opinion, but as long as what we're doing makes the world a better place, makes us better people, and supports the people around us, whether that's financially, emotionally, then do more of that. And if that means that for a while you don't bring in the salary that you were bringing in before or that you'd hoped to bring in, it doesn't mean that that's going to always be the case. It just means that this is a gift to be able to plan what could be and what you can create next. So I say go for it.
I 100% agree with that, Sophie. I always say to him, it's like an arrow. We're drawing back right now, but it will launch us forward. So, and again, in a life and in a balance that is much, much more aligned with what we value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it 100% resonates. And for anyone listening who has those feelings and you feel like you need to be always earning money, I totally get it. But I am personally sort of moving through those emotions and becoming more okay with exactly what Tracy said, like follow your passion. And if that means you have to go a little bit back financially, then so be it. If it's going to make you happy and ultimately give you a brighter future, it's worth it. Okay,
Yes.
so we're getting a good sense of your journey. So then, would you describe that as rock bottom, and then you were sort of started building yourself back up again? And if so, tell us
Yes.
a little bit about what did that look like? Like how long did it take? And because I'm obviously followed you for a little while now, I see how connected you are to nature and self-care and all of these beautiful things that you do for yourself and your well-being. Like, how long did that transition take? Tell us about that.
I think for me, it was almost immediate. I had a beautiful session. I've been having acupuncture and cupping for quite a few years. And so I doubled down on the things that made me feel good and more well. So I started getting better rest. I started spending time with people who didn't ask anything of me. There was no expectation. It was just those beautiful, symbiotic relationships that kind of just really blend well and only leave us feeling better. And in that time, I spent a lot more time outside as well. And so we've got a beautiful 60-acre property in the Adelaide Hills that my mum owns.
Wow.
And so I spent, it's beautiful. So we spent a lot more time on the farm, and I think it just gave me such a good point in time to look at what made me feel good, why it made me feel good, and how I could do more of it. And so I just followed, as we were talking before, sometimes those pauses, there's so much power in them because it gives us the opportunity to look at what does feel good and what is good for us. And so by following more of that, I was able to then start creating workshops for people in businesses. I was asked to speak on panels and podcasts, and things just started dropping in. I love serendipity. I don't
Yes,
believe
me
there are any
too.
coincidences, and I am a big believer that when you open yourself up to opportunity and you're I kind of look at it like following the breadcrumbs of what life can give you and offer you.
Yeah.
It will lead you in the direction of where you're meant to be going next. And so through those workshops, I look back now and I think, my goodness, there's stuff that I would not do now, but it was just that next step of what almost me healing myself to help others heal as well. And I think we often come from that place of learning, don't we, so that we can then put our hand behind us and lift the people behind us for their journey as well. And so we kind of travelled on that road and we were, doing really well. And then we thought, oh, why not mix it up? Let's move to Queensland. So, we'd always thought we were going north for holidays all the time. And we ended up, my hubby moved to Cairns, far north Queensland, for 6 months before we went. We sold our beautiful home and just did a whole change. We wanted to go to the sun, follow the sun. And as things are, they're always a learning journey. We didn't settle in Cairns, but what the beautiful silver lining for that transition was we decided to come back to Adelaide. And after about 12 months, we'd been there 12 months, and we said, why don't we buy a caravan and a car? And we went, let's do it. And so I stopped doing any work. So I completely took time off again.
Yeah.
Very lucky I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And we took the kids out of the 4th term of school and bought Harry the caravan and packed up, and we had bought a block of land back in the Adelaide Hills here and travelled our way down the east coast back to Adelaide from Cairns for 3.5 months.
Oh, wow.
And I can honestly say, if anyone listening is thinking about doing that, please do it.
Yeah.
It was the trip of a lifetime. It was unbelievable. We still all talk about it to this day. So that was in 2023, the end of 2023. And we got back to Adelaide at the beginning of 2024.
How old were your kids at that stage?
They were 8 and 10.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
2 boys.
Nice.
So we just let them go wild. They were barefoot, their hair was long. We walked along beaches and beach combed. We climbed mountains. We were barefoot. We climbed trees. We
just immersed yourself in
just-
nature.
It was just pure delight. There's no other word for it. And both my hubby and I said we're the healthiest we've ever been. This is amazing.
Do you know, I hear this all the time when they say about nowadays other countries, they're prescribing people to go into nature. They instead of giving them a pill prescription or whatever else, the other countries are onto it. They know that wellness comes from us connecting with nature and connecting back up with all those things traditionally we did.
Can I ask how
and I feel like,
how do you make that decision? Because I bet you there's a bunch of people listening going, oh my God, that sounds like heaven. But I'd never be able to do that. I'd never be able to do that. Like I'm guessing that's what people are thinking. How do you give yourself the permission, and how do you logistically do it? Like, give me a little insight into that.
I'm planning. So you can't just kind of go, oh, one day I think I'm going to get in a caravan and drive off. Excuse me. We planned for probably 3 months. So we'd made the decision middle of the year that we were going to leave in sort of October time from Cairns. I guess we were a bit lucky because we were in a rental, so we were able to finish up our, from a logistical perspective, we looked at our finances. We looked at what we could and couldn't do. We looked at, would our kids be worse off if they were taken out of school and just had the school of life and the school of nature? I looked at, will I need to work? And there was a possibility of me maybe needing to do some work. But what we did is we pulled all our resources into purchasing not the most fantastic caravan. It was great. It was exactly what we needed, but it wasn't top of the range. We didn't buy a top of the range car. And I think, I don't know, I just feel like life is this whole balance between we want the experience, but we feel like we need to have the best of everything to be able to have that experience before we actually allow ourselves the experience.
Yeah, I agree.
And so we just lowered our expectations of what we thought life should.
Yes, that should like. Again. That should.
That naughty little cheeky should. It gets in everywhere. It's a little rascal.
Yeah.
But we really lowered that. And, so I packed literally all my clothes into boxes. I took the bare minimum. I think I wore the same clothes nearly pretty much, I don't know, a lot of the time. I mean, my shoes didn't last. I wore one pair of shoes the whole time we were away, apart from they were it. Otherwise, it was barefoot.
Yeah.
Same with the kids. And I think, when you say to people, or when people say, oh, I couldn't possibly do that, I couldn't possibly give that up. It's about what's the opportunity if we look at maybe doing short trips, or do we hire a caravan for a little while and see if we like it? Because we went all in. We thought, oh, well, maybe we'll just give it a go and see how it goes. But some people aren't that brave where they think, 4 of us can live in a caravan for 3.5 months. And don't get me wrong, the first 2 weeks we were ready to pack up and give up. Like it was a bit of a rocky first few weeks, but then there was some words. But in
a caravan with 3
luckily
boys.
We had I know. Luckily we had a pop out once, so one end was like the adult end and one end was the kid end, and the only way to break it up was like putting curtains. And so if anyone was annoyed, I'd be like, I'm just going down the other end and I'm going to shut the curtain. I'm not going to block anything out except that I can't see you anymore. So I was like pulling it across. But I think there's those moments where you just go, that's just it's like being in a household, just not in a house, and just moving the whole unit to another.
You're just adjusting with everything. But I think that's what you value, like what you guys did, because you said that you bought a block of land in Adelaide Hills ready to obviously build on. So to me, you took the money that someone else might have gone, oh, that'll go towards the house or that'll go towards, whatever, and you looked at what you actually valued and you put it where you valued. So I think that's what people don't do, in my opinion. They don't stop and look at what they value. They just do what's expected of them. What's kind of what their friends are all doing. Like it just seems to be that they're really just following the pack. It's not that people are stopping, looking inwards and going, for me, for my family, what would we love to do? They're just working within the 4 weeks of holidays that they've got a year. They don't really break out of those moulds.
I agree. And I love that you've brought that up, because I think so many people don't know what they value.
Yeah.
I think they get told what they think they should value,
Or it's programmed
but I
into
don't
them.
think they take.
And then it becomes
Correct.
a habit. Like it's just this
Yeah.
constant thing that you don't even really actually question it. You just keep going.
People often say, I value
Absolutely.
family. Well, what are you doing to value that family? Like, look what you did. You took 3.5 months off to immerse yourself with your family and have experiences,
Absolutely.
create memories.
Yep.
Like, you
Yeah.
value family. So,
Yeah, it is one of my top values, yes.
yeah. So, but for someone
And
else,
travel.
they'll say that, but what are you actually
Yeah.
doing to line that up to make that? But yeah, you might drive your kids to sports and do, bits and pieces, but are you taking that time? Are you really investing, in the family in that way?
And what do you
And are you
think?
present?
What do you think you learned from that experience, and maybe what your kids learned, and your husband maybe? Like, what takeaways did you get from that trip?
Good question. There's quite a few things. The first one was how much we genuinely love each other and how important that is for all of us. We learned that we don't need all the things
That's a big
to
one.
be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We learned that sometimes having the difficult conversations with each other lead to much better outcomes than not having them. We learned to trust ourselves and each other a lot more than we did. And I think in particular, so my kids, well, I say our kids, I call them my kids, are our kids. I know it's really weird, isn't it?
I do that as well.
My husband, like, my children.
Yeah.
No, my eldest was quite shy. And for him, it taught him to use his voice, because he had to go and, we got him to go and ask for groceries in the grocery store, or we got him to go and they were able to ride their bikes around small towns we were staying in without us being there, And so there was trust, there was autonomy, there was courage, there was love, just so many things that when we're in the busy day to day, I think we lose touch with them sometimes, and we think that they're being fulfilled, but they're not at that real deep, visceral level.
How beautiful. That's amazing. And you didn't even know you were going to get all those things. You just dove into that experience, and then that was the outcome. How magical.
Yes.
I'd love to do an
was.
episode on, because I'm a big advocate for that, and I actually would love to do an episode on school and how I don't actually rate school at all. I think it's outdated, and your kids would have got so much more out of those 3 months than sitting in a classroom with 30 kids.
Huge.
So, yeah,
I
future
love
episode.
that. I love that take.
Something about school.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it. It's so interesting. I'll listen.
Good, that's one. So then you got back and then into business, but I also want to really touch on, like, what does your life look like now? Like, how do you prioritize self-care in your life? You're running a business, you've got 2 kids, husband, household to run. Like, tell us about I don't know whether, how they do those little routines on Instagram and stuff where someone's getting ready in the mirror. This is my self-care.
Certainly don't do
Yeah.
that. But
Tell me a little bit about your life and
love
how
that.
you balance it and prioritize yourself. Because that's the message I really want to ram home to people.
I think I've got very clear through, life always has its challenges. Everyone has their own challenges, but I've got very, very clear. I love that you brought up values, Tracy, because when my husband and I got super laser focused on what our values are or were, and they've morphed a little bit, but what they are, and we do a check-in quite regularly, we were able to say yes to the things that made us feel good more and no to the things that we didn't want to do. And that included, rushing around trying to do a million things in a day. It included saying yes to everybody and trying to fit everything in. And I think when I say, how's my day broken up, I work full-time as an HR consultant, so that's my full-time work. Around that, I do speaking events, panels, podcasts, all sorts, with travel, and then the kids have their own stuff. They're both into a lot of sport. But we only say yes to things that we have a full-body heck yes feeling to. And my husband is the most amazing supportive partner I could ever have hoped for. So we are very even in the way that we manage the household. So he does all of the cooking, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm not a great cook. I love baking.
I'd like to say
Don't really
that.
care about food.
Sophie, I'd like to be able to say that, and I wouldn't be ashamed of saying that either.
But you've actually gotten good at cooking.
No shame, no shame. I think you need to embrace that. No, only because it's my husband's form of meditation.
Yeah,
He absolutely loves it. So we share that. So he does that while I'm kind of doing other things. So that allows me space to do my own business stuff after hours.
Mm-hmm.
We very much share the housework in general. And we also, I think, and it's interesting you brought up the caravan trip, our kids are really good at doing stuff around the house. So if they're asked to do something, they have their jobs, but they love doing things like mowing the lawn, or they'll go over to, I know it's super random. They started a lawn mowing business when we were in Cairns and did door knocking and created like a little flyer, and it was so
They've got
cute.
mum's
They got one
entrepreneurial
client.
spirit. They've got mums.
Yes, they had one client, well, all of 80 years old, who we're still in contact with actually. She lived on her own.
Oh, bless.
But I think when, yes, there is a lot to juggle, and yes, there's a lot to balance, but the things that I'm juggling and balancing light me up.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference. If I was trudging through the day going, oh, this is awful, oh, I don't want to hang out with this person, oh, I don't want to do that. I mean, although the laundry, I don't love that. That certainly doesn't light me up. Fresh sheets do.
Yeah.
Not the washing bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's about finding the opportunity even in the challenging parts.
Yeah.
And I like what you said. It's because I agree. Like sometimes I remember when I went back to work after maternity leave, and I was just doing a couple of clients, in between breastfeeding, and I'd come home and I'd be like, blah, 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 blah. And Scott would say, you love your job. I'm like, yeah. so it didn't feel like it was depleting. Like I was coming home with energy because I was loving, seeing the things in my clients shifting. And so it does depend on what you're putting your energy into. So for me, it was definitely making sure that I'm staying with things that I love doing. Like previously in the past, I've been asked to do supervising roles or even speak at certain things where it doesn't light me up. And I think, no, that feels like work. That feels like less fun than what I'm doing just working across from a client. So I'll prioritise the things like you're saying that bring me joy compared to, it's just a paycheck or it's a different opportunity, but it's not really lighting me up.
And then
I agree. I love that.
And then life throws you another curveball. Do you want to?
As it does. Thanks, universe.
So this is your cancer diagnosis. When did this happen?
Yes.
And tell us a bit of what was life looking like at that point, and then what changed?
So life was looking great. My husband went back to police work, so he'd taken a leave of absence for us to be able to do our sojourn up north. But he went back to work, and I started in a full-time HR consulting role. Life was great, no problems. We were planning on building the house. We were all set to kind of get that happening. And then in February, well, it actually happened while I was traveling. There was a lump that had formed on the side of my tongue, and it was the tiniest lump, like so small. But the only reason it was kind of unnoticed is because it was annoying me. It wasn't no pain. It was just rubbing on my teeth. And I went to my dermatologist, and he said, and I listened to my body. I think this is the thing, listening to your body, intuitively knowing there's something not quite right. And I went, and he said, I don't know. He goes, it could be nothing, but let's just get it biopsied. Anyway, ended up getting it biopsied, and it came back as a like a skin cancer basically, but on my tongue. So it's a very fast moving, very fast, like rapid growth, dangerous form of cancer. And I was told pretty much, we need to cut this out. And at the same time, my husband was struggling with his own mental health. So he'd gone back into police prosecution, and I'd known for quite some years he hadn't been well, but had coped pretty well with sort of just pushing through, without too much challenge. But he started to rapidly decline with his sleep. So he started not sleeping and started getting really, really unwell about the same time. So long story short, got into surgery the week of my surgery because I was told I needed to have part of my tongue cut out. and because they need to create like a buffer zone, I suppose, around the area. And so I was hospitalised on the Friday in May, mid-May, and my hubby took me down. I got through surgery fine. They also did I don't even know what it's called. I think I blocked out the name of it, but they had to cut me down underneath my throat here and they took out 30 lymph nodes and a salivary gland. And so that all went swimmingly. On the Saturday, when I was in recovery, I got a phone call from my hubby thinking that he was checking in on how I was doing. And he said, I've self-presented at A&E and I'm suicidal.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's while I was recovering, not able to talk very well. And so that week that I was in hospital recovering, he was in a mental health hospital himself for the same period of time. So it kind of is like these two worlds kind of just converged all at the same time. But, it's through these things that we learn our greatest lessons, and we see how strong we can be. And, I sound quite flippant about it now because it's 18 months later, but
which actually isn't very long ago. That's actually not long ago at all.
No, it's not, but it feels like a lifetime ago. So
the intensity of what you must have gone through, has lessened now, but at the time it must have been very acute for you both.
And it's less painful. Yeah. So
were you ever worried about, being able to speak again? Was there any concerns around how much, of your tongue you need to come out?
Yeah, huge. Yeah. I think because when I went in, I was like, it's just a biopsy, it'll be fine. And then when he said to me, you've got cancer and we need to cut it out and we need to cut part of your tongue, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah. Sorry, what? Yeah. And also because, a lot of my work is speaking. Yeah. And I said to him, will I be able to speak properly? And he goes, look, some of the risks are your face could have a permanent droop to this side when we do the surgery because it could injure the nerve down here. And we're not sure how much of your tongue, but we'll take as little as possible. And I was just like, not really sure. Couldn't kind of compute it for quite a while. And even as I was going under, the poor doctor, he was so lovely. I said, don't you dare cut more tongue out than you need to, because I said, I've got to talk. I like talking. Yeah. And he said, yeah, whatever. And then I went under the anaesthetic. He probably went, shut up, whatever. But he did the most exceptional job. But the healing post-surgery was difficult. I had to do, mouth physio and there was a lot. And I was really worried that I might never speak properly again. Or sing. Singing was a big thing for me.
Wow. That's a huge thing
but
to
I can.
through.
And I'm amazing.
That's great. Activating your vagus nerve, everyone. So after, going through this cancer diagnosis and the treatment and things, and your husband going through what he was going through, did you get any support for yourself along this time?
100%. There's no way that I could have navigated it as well as I did. So many people kept saying to me, I can't believe you're okay through this. And I'm like, well, I'm not okay. I just haven't processed it yet. So it's just kind of sitting there waiting for me to actually do that. And to be honest, I probably have only started really processing my own feelings around it this year. Because I wanted to get my husband through, all of the challenge that he had. So he was off work. He's only just started to go back to work in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks. So he's been off work since last May. And navigating his own stuff and doing really well and doing all the things to really support himself. Nature's been really big for him. Yoga, meditation, being outside, really reconnecting to his body, inside and listening. So psychologist. I didn't see a psychiatrist, but my hubby's been obviously under the care of a really good psychiatrist. I've done breath work. Oh my gosh, I love that you're a breath work facilitator because breathwork is a game changer. Yeah. If anyone is listening, and you haven't done breathwork, get on the breathwork train because the amount of deep somatic healing that you can do, even just in one session of breathwork with a beautiful facilitator who holds you through that process.
Isn't it incredible what comes up? Like I was just so surprised about things that came up that I thought, I didn't even know that was a thing for me. Like I didn't even know my body was holding any energy around that thing. So
yes, 100%. So breathwork, a facilitated breathwork though. I mean, I do a bit on my own. Yeah. But having someone hold space for me was really important. Reiki, I get massages every month. I get acupuncture and cupping every month. Like I am next level put everything into me and put everything into my family, because health-wise, because I've realised having that massive challenge all converge at once, it just impacts every facet of your life. Like you can't possibly function if you're not well and without your health. It sounds so cliche, but health is wealth.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think what you're saying as well about all these things you're now putting in place, because I hear lots of people that they get, you know, some sort of chronic illness or cancer, and yes, they might get through that, you know, in that time period, but they're not really changing their habits afterwards, you know. So maybe if they weren't, you know, going to bed and having good sleep routines and sleep hygiene and things afterwards, they haven't changed that, or they haven't changed the being busy and stopping and giving themselves more time. They're just, okay, back to it now, you know, and they just pick everything back up. And I just think, oh, to me, what I believe around the body and illness, I think if you don't change those habits and those patterns, you're quite likely to probably manifest something else in your body, because you're not clearing out that energy in the way that you're talking about, you know, with the Reiki and the breathwork and the acupuncture and the cupping and all these things, shifting it, you know, from the body. And the other thing that you mentioned that I really want to point out to people is when you're going through a crisis, you're not processing. You're surviving.
Right.
So, you know, when you said about only now are you saying to process, you know, your emotions and your feelings around that time, I think people skip that step, and they might have people say to them, yeah, you're doing really well and blah, blah, blah. And that is because they're probably, pushing it through, pushing it down, pushing through, just trying to get on with the day to day. But it's really, you know, crucial later on that they go back to those things and they process what it was like for them and shift that energy out of the body. And if they don't, it'll come out somewhere else. Might be a few years, but it will come out somewhere else. So I love that you knew that that's so important as part of your journey.
Well, it is really important, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about self-kindness now. I knew I loved it before, and I knew I needed it, and I knew I was teaching it, but I didn't really have the depth of understanding like I do now. And that's often the way, isn't it? We go through something challenging and we come out the other end and go, oh, I survived that. How did I survive that? Why do I need to do this? Hang on, what do I need to stop doing? So, I love that. And I think the bits where your body hangs on to stuff, why aren't we listening? Why aren't we listening to that? Because
you sound like you have a very deep respect for your body. Like even earlier when you were saying about that intuition, that knowing about there's something going on here. Again, I think if people are so busy, they're so disconnected from their bodies, they're not getting those little insights, they're not getting those little knowings because they're not tuned into them. So how lucky that, lucky you created it, so it's not luck.
It was lucky.
But, lucky in terms of you created a space for yourself to have the 3.5 months off so that you were connected more in your body. And when you noticed that, even though it wasn't painful, you still got that checked out, whereas lots of people wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So I think, again, that's that connection to yourself that you had, that you cultivated, that allowed you, you know, to get onto that really early and have the best outcome. So, people are just disconnecting. So many people will say they won't go to the doctor or they won't get things checked. And usually it's coming from fear, but they're not putting their mind at ease or getting on top of things. They're just allowing that to fester and build and then potentially, you know, be a much bigger problem down the track.
Yeah.
So
they say knowledge is power.
You now, as part of what you do, preach the benefits of self-kindness. How do you find people resonate with it? Like, do you still think it's a massive hurdle for people to overcome?
Yes. yes, and yes. So I think that there are, you know, nothing's one-dimensional, but I feel that organisations get that they need to do something for their staff. People get that they need to be doing something for themselves. And we all look at the state of the world and think, gosh, you know, what can we do to be better humans and try and, I guess, contribute in a more cohesive and kind manner. But I think the understanding of what kindness actually is, firstly, and how it can be implemented both individually and collectively are still areas for growth for people because, you know, we've done things in such a, and I'm not talking about man and woman, I'm talking about masculine and feminine energy. We've always worked in such a way where there's this strong masculine energy of the doing and the
Yes.
providing and the creating and the, you know, we're not really creating, that's more feminine, but the really
Getting shit
the
done.
getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Yeah, get shit done. I didn't know whether I could swear.
You can swear.
The get stuff done. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're really in that because that's what we've created within organisations and within our world. And I think hopefully things are starting to shift to see that there is a balance needed where the femininity of holding space and nurturing and being at peace and connecting with others on a truly authentic heart-to-heart level is, rather than just on that mind-to-mind level, is just so important. And so what I tend to do is when I talk about it, I think hopefully people can feel the passion and the energy that I have for actually creating a better world in general. You know, my impact I want to create is that if I can help someone else to be a better version of themselves so that they can then help the next person to be a better version of themselves, then
we're the same,
you know, how amazing is that? Like, yeah,
we have the same
job
dream.
done.
You two are kindred spirits.
Same.
Yeah.
If only you were here in Perth.
Oh, stop! I'm going to have to do a trip over.
We'd be little besties. Yeah, that's exactly my vision too. I think, gosh, the ripple effect that creates is just magical. Mm-hmm.
And
it is.
You are in the middle of writing a book, is that right?
I am.
Do you want to
and
talk
I'm
about
actually
it?
meeting with a. Yeah, well, I can. It's all about kindness, funnily enough. And I'm in discussions with a publisher at the moment, which is really exciting. So hopefully it will lock down, and I'm looking hopefully to have a launch date around April, May next year. So still a little way to go.
No, that's not at all. That's incredible. That time will go so fast.
Well, we'll make sure we share that.
So, I mean, yes.
Yeah. And do you want to give people
a
little insight into what it's going to be about?
Yeah, sure. It's around kind leadership from a individual's perspective. And then, as I was speaking before, about how we can then create that within our teams and create that within our organisations, and then hopefully from a collective level. So it's actually got measurable science and research and case studies. And so it's not just going to be a fluffy, be kind to yourself and smile at everyone and, you know, be chatty and friendly. It's actually will give me a roadmap on if I wanted to do this in my life or in my workplace, what are the steps that I would need to take and what are some of the things I can measure to know when I've gone from here to here. And it's not about measuring whether I've become a kinder human. It's about measuring my impact and what change I could potentially have on the people and the places and the situations around me. So yeah,
I love that.
Pretty excited.
That is, and I also like that you are saying that you're putting the science in there, because not that I like it when I can, you know, see things and see the science and things, but I'm definitely very open to woo woo. But for people that do just dismiss everything as woo woo, I love when there's science in there to sort of show them that, hey, look, this isn't just all in my head. Like this has got some backup.
And I think that is so important, because I think as well, when you start to talk about kindness, a lot of people kind of go, here's another one. They just
here's
want,
a hippy dippy.
Because, like, exactly. And I am quite woo. I mean, look at me. I'm certainly not your stock standard. But, you know, I'm on a podcast with candles burning in the background and feathers next to it. Yeah. But
my kind of gal.
You see my feathers? Yes, I collect these everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I'm looking for feathers for my breathwork altar. So you're lucky you're not here.
Aren't they amazing? Anyway, we digress. Sorry. Something shiny. No, it's the Dory effect. No, so I think that when I'm talking to, you know, not everyone's going to resonate with creating a kinder world or a kinder organisation.
Well, it depends
but
on their values.
Are so many people, and then they're not my people, and I'm not theirs.
Yeah,
and that's fine. Do you know, and being okay with that.
Yeah. And actually, do you know, I heard something the other day about levels of consciousness and how we move through them. And you and I would be in what they call a green level, where we're about community, we're about, you know, creating loving connections and things. But some people are in that, you know, the doing and the building wealth and then the different stages. So
3D.
Yeah. So it's just a different sort of stage that people can be in, and, you know, if they can see that there's different stages that they can get to, then maybe eventually they might move there, or they might stay where they are. But at least you're knowing who your people are and, you know, who you're wanting to direct this information towards.
I agree. And I think, and of course, that's why us three have connected, because we've all seen something in each other where we've gone, oh, wow, you're doing great work. You're really interesting. I want to know more. And I think that's where, that's where the ripple effect can come in, isn't it? So,
yeah. And it's also about people because I find that when people are having, because I would say that I've definitely had a spiritual awakening and been much more open to all of these things. And I was always spiritual, but really in my 40s is when it's really, taken over almost.
Yes, 40s.
Hormones.
Is 40s like the point? I don't know for a woman. I don't know whether it's the same for you, Scott.
I think it is.
But I swear I hit my 40s and I just went, hang on a second, there's this, I've leveled up. It's like when you're in a game. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't game, but I see my kids gaming. Yeah. And I'm like, it's like that next level.
Well, I feel like we could actually keep talking all day, but a little slice of life. It's school holidays and the kids are demanding to come back into the kitchen. So we're going to have to wrap it up. But there's one question I had before we finish is, because I think people are going to really resonate with you and your story, is like, what's one little takeaway that you would like for them to have? Like, I think a lot of our listeners are in that busyness of life. Like, life is hectic. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. They got a lot going on. Like, what would you say to them to help them, I don't know, slow down or whatever worked for you?
And just really prioritize you as a human first, not what you're achieving, not what you want to get done, but really take the time to just feel into what feels good for you. And if that's sitting on the couch and watching Netflix, if that's walking outside barefoot, if it's lighting a candle, having a nice cup of tea, calling a friend, don't discount those little things inside that say, slow down.
Yeah, that's what we found with we did this 30-day self-care challenge where we had a group of 50 people on WhatsApp, and every day Tracy and I would share a little tip. And a lot of the feedback was people realised it's just little things.
It's that layering.
Yes. There's not one big thing that's going to make you all of a sudden be totally zen or okay with life. It's all of these 1%ers, like the cups of tea or the putting your bare feet on the grass or whatever it happens to be. And you add all of those up and then eventually you get to a point where you're like, oh, okay.
And the acupuncture and the cupping.
All that, the physical stuff.
Yeah, because every time I learn a new modality, I'm always like, oh, great, that's going to be the thing that's EMDR. That's going to be the thing that's going to help people shift things out. Sure. And while it does and it's very helpful, I finally learned that I think it's a layering. I think it really is this balance of lots of different things. It's not that one thing that's going to clear something out or shift something away or, create that amazing balance that you're wanting. It's just that layering effect of all those things you've just mentioned. And seeing the candle, and smelling the aroma, like it's all those just little things that are just showing yourself that you matter and that you're really important and you're worth lighting that candle for, or you're worth, going to that appointment and getting the cupping or whatever it might be. Like you're doing all the things for you that you would do for someone else if you cared for them, but you're putting that energy inwards.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's about valuing ourselves and knowing that we matter too.
How beautiful.
Now, do you want to let people know how they can follow you? Because you share some very uplifting content. Always beautiful, bright photos. If people are just listening to this, Sophie has very bright red, orange hair.
We'll go with orange. Right.
And in your photos, the professional photos, and you're wearing like all these complementary colours, like those photos pop. But you always have a really uplifting message for people. So how can people follow you?
Well, LinkedIn is just my favourite place to hang out online when I'm online. And so if they want to hunt me down on LinkedIn, I have my own website, which is under my business, metaleaders.com. And I'm on Instagram, but not as much as I used to be. So don't expect me to be sharing, the world on there if you're on Insta. But I say yes to every connection that comes through on LinkedIn, because I just think, well, you've taken the time to reach out to me, so why wouldn't we connect human to human? So hunt me down on LinkedIn. I'm there probably 3 or 4 times a week. So,
Beautiful.
I'll put a little a link to that in the show notes. Okay, Tracy, anything else you want to ask? Or
no, you don't let me start because I will keep talking to her for another
20 minutes. All right, Sophie, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners will as well.
Yes, thank you so
It's
much.
been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much to both of you. It's just been beautiful. I feel like I've been able to share a bit of my heart with you and seen yours a little bit as well. So I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
All right, babe. Anything we want to talk about with retreats or anything, or just quickly, our Reconnect Self retreat there may be one spot left.
No, there will be no spots left.
Well, this goes out on Monday. That's pretty soon.
Yeah. We only have one spot left, and it's probably going to go because I've got a
Okay.
few people waiting for it. So we have retreats next year in
First one's May.
In May. Yep. Perfect.
And relationship retreat, there is one in November, and there might be a couple of spots left for that.
By the time this comes out, that'll be probably a couple of spots.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay.
Excellent.
That's all done. Thanks again, Sophie, and thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next time.